So this is the last part of our loop section. In this section, we are going to learn about loop control statements. Now, loop control statements change execution from its normal sequence. When execution leaves a scope, all automatic objects that were created in that scope are destroyed. I know a lot of big words have been just flowed on, so let's make things clear for you. So let's say I have a for loop or a while loop. Let's say I have a while loop, while, and that's one of the worst writing that I have. While condition, and in this condition, let's say some statements you have written up. Let's say right now I have a loop control statement over here. Okay, this is a loop control statement, and again some statements are there. Then this loop control statement will change the complete sequence of your controls, that is your while loop. What will happen is, let's see, you have written, so whatever your condition might be, you have a statement over here, you have a control statement. Now if this control statement has been run off over here, so let's say I have written out and break statement, so it will, what it will happen is, even if your condition is true, it will just get out of your while loop. It will not move into the next part, or else if you write continue, it will just move into the next iteration. Okay. Now let's look into the type of control statement. We have break, continue, and pass. Let's write one minute. Okay. So break statement breaks out of the current closes and closing loop. What I mean by this is, so let's say I have written, again taking the while loop example, I have a while loop and inside of it I have written out a break statement. If the break statement has occurred, then it will just get out of the while loop. It will not execute anymore. Now moving to continue, it goes to the top of the closest and closing loop. Now let's say you have written out continue, then it will just jump out that iteration and move into the next part. And pass, as it names, it will just pass it off and it will do nothing much. Okay, so let's go back to our Jupyter notebook. Let's have a quick example of each one of those, that is break, continue, and pass. So let's have a look into it. So let's take an example of our while loop. I equal to 1 while I is less than 6, and then print I. So if I execute it out, it will be running endlessly. Why? As I have noted out in a while loop that I have to mention an increment. So if things or situation like this happen, what we can do is we can just interrupt the kernel. So it will just stop it after some while. So let's copy this code in a new cell, paste it back, and let's increment I plus equal to 1. Execute it now. So we are getting all the numbers. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add out a break statement over here. So if I equal to 3, then break. So let's try to execute. As you could see that once it has found it out that the I value is equal to 3, it will just break out of the loop. It will not move into the next statement, but it will break out of your loop and the complete execution will be changed. Let's copy the same code and replace break with continue. So nothing happened. Okay, let's change it a bit because okay, let's delete this and print I after this. Okay, so initially the value of I was equal to 1, so let's change it to 0. So you can see that I equals to 0, it is checking that the value of I is less than 6 or not. The value of I is less than 6, so I am just incrementing value of I. Then I'm checking if I value is equal to 3 or not. If it is 3, then it will just move into the next iteration, else it won't. Okay. So and then we are printing out the value of I. Okay, so let's have a look into how dot write and goes on. So if I equal to 1, 1 will be just printed off, 2 will be again printed off. Once I becomes 3, 3 equal to 3, it is continue, then it will just move into the next uh, iteration. Okay, so I value becomes 3, that is it will become 4, and it will just print out the value of 4. Let's take our last problem that we solve out this one and try to edit it out. So let's take this, and what I'm going to change is quite similar. If x equal to 3, then it will print x equal to 3. And if in the else part, what we are going to do is we are going to mention in this cells all done and break. Let's continue, and over here I'm going to change it to continuing. If x, oops, let's run it. Print, yeah, indentation. So here it goes. When x is equal to 3, it will run off, and then when it is moving into continue, what is happening? It is just displaying out continue. So I have a while block and an if block, an else block, and also a continue. That is how whatever we have learned as of now, we can just combine all of them together. That is what the output of it looks like. So while x equal to 0, x is less than 10. So we are printing all of these, incrementing x value. Now if x equal to 3, it will print this, else it will print continue, and it will just continue off. Now let's write an else block for the while loop. Else print all done. So at the end it will come all done after your complete execution has been completed. If I mention break over here, so as you can see, it will just run for 0. When it move into the next part, it will just break it out. Okay, once x equal to 3, it will just break off. Okay. So let's look into the last thing that we have, that is pass. As I have told you before, that these statements, any Python statement cannot be left empty. Even the conditional statements, we have looked through this. Even while loop, let's say while. So I equal to 1 while I is less than 6, and if I try to keep it empty, it will be an error, so you can just write pass in that place, so it should be working just fine. Okay, now over here an endless loop is going on, but yeah, you can use it for a for loop. So let's stop the interrupted. Okay, so that's how it goes on. Now we have completed the complete section of loops. In the problem notes, we have a lot of extra problems that we have a homework exercise for you guys. Just play around with this. The questions are quite tough, but we have included each thing up. So we have a bunch of problems over here. Just go through all the problems, try to solve it out. The answers are already given, the questions are also given, and apart from this, we have a loop exercise notes where we have some 18 questions, and you have to try to solve at least 8 of them by yourself. After these 18 questions, we have the answers for each of them. Okay. So best of luck for your loop exercise. We'll meet again in our next section when we discuss about some new topic.